Well, Celtics fans, as much as I love to be an optimist and, as much as I've enjoyed watching the Celtics prove me wrong at every turn, winning games I thought they had no chance of winning and, just plugging ahead without Gordon Hayward and making all these great comebacks during the regular season, going on a 16-game winning streak, having the number 1 seed for a good chunk of the season, finishing with the number 2 seed and just being this great all-around team. As much as all that stuff was fun to watch, they're done. The Boston Celtics are done for the playoffs. I mean, there's no getting around that. What that means exactly, I don't know. To be fair, I never thought they were going to, win the championship. I didn't even think they'd make the NBA Finals, but I was looking forward to kind of a repeat of last year, another exciting playoff run, a matchup with Cleveland where maybe it's more competitive, even without Gordon Hayward. I really wanted to see that Kyrie versus LeBron showdown, but that's not going to happen because Kyrie Irving is done for the season, done for the playoffs, however long they may be. And they're not going to be that long. Again, I know it seems like I'm just kind of switching everything up now because to this point I've been pretty high on the Celtics, and I still am high on the Celtics as a franchise going forward. I've really liked what I've seen from them. Their last West Coast road trip without Kyrie, by the way, they did very well. But, they're only going to go so far in the playoffs. They were only going to go so far anyway. Even if Kyrie had come back, who knows how good he would have been. And the whole Kyrie injury kind of reminded me of Kevin Garnett in 2009. It was this whole thing where Celtics didn't say much about it. Oh, yeah, it's just a minor injury. Oh, well, he might miss a few games, but it's not going to be serious. Oh, well, he might need a second opinion. Oh, well, we might do a procedure, but he'll only be out a few weeks. And then, it got to the point where, is he even coming back? And now, sure enough, Celtics shutting him down for the season. He's supposed to, take 4 to 5 months to recover, which puts him at about August, September for, being able to return to basketball activities. So, him and Gordon Hayward can rehab together now because that's the end of that. That's no more Kyrie. Marcus Smart, may come back for the second round of the playoffs. At that point, I don't even know. I don't even know if there's going to be one, and I don't know if it's worth bringing Marcus Smart back just to play on a team that's kind of just screwed right now. A bunch of other injuries. Some of them, not as big a deal. Some of them, who knows. I know even though Marcus Morris and Terry Rozier are playing right now, they've had injuries recently. Really, Horford's the only one I can think of that hasn't had a major injury, and even he's missed a game or two here and there. The whole team really has just kind of been decimated by injuries, and I don't know if that's a product of them pushing it so hard in the beginning of the season. I know when they lost Gordon Hayward, they went on this big 16-game winning streak, and notably during that winning streak was the defense they played. They played very lockdown physical defense for really the first couple months of the season, and you kind of wondered how long they could maintain that. The defense hasn't been great the past month or so, even though they've been winning a lot of games. And I think, the team is finally the fatigue is catching up with them. Although the younger players, Jason Tatum and Brown, actually have been doing pretty well recently. A couple off games here and there, but they've really picked it up after kind of hitting a slump in February. The whole team really looked promising after the All-Star break when it looked like they were starting to slide. They picked it back up, and all of them. I mean, every time I think the Celtics are out, they come back. So that's why I'm kind of hesitant to even say they're done. I do think, the second round is probably the ceiling for this team right now. I think they could win. I don't want to say they will win, but I think it is likely that they could win a first-round matchup against the Bucks or the Heat. Whoever they get in that first round is the number 7 seed. After that, I don't really know. I do know there's a scenario where the Celtics could play, the Bucks or the Heat, and then they could play either the Sixers or the Pacers in the second round, and then, maybe. But again, I mean, they're not going to beat, Cleveland. They weren't even beating Cleveland with Kyrie, just based on what I'd seen in the regular season. They've got embarrassed by Cleveland pretty much every time but one. Toronto, they played them close occasionally, but Toronto's been blowing them out even with Kyrie. So, yeah, I don't know. And again, I'm not trying to be the downer here. I think a lot of Celtics fans will agree with me that, as much fun as this season was to watch, it's very disappointing to see it end this way before it even got to the playoffs. It was one thing when Gordon Hayward missed, got injured the first game of the season. I mean, it sucked, but at least you knew you had the whole season of Kyrie Irving. You had the whole season to watch the young guys develop. Now we're at a point where the only thing left to watch was the postseason, and now that's not really going to be that much fun to watch because you lost your player that you really wanted to see. I wanted to see Kyrie in the playoffs, a guy who had been to the NBA Finals before, a guy who knows what it's like in the playoffs, who knows how to win, how to be clutch in those big games, and they're not going to have him. Now, they'll have Terry Rozier, who has impressed recently. They'll have Marcus Morris, who's been a good scorer for them. They'll have Al Horford, who has playoff experience. And, I mean, they'll have some players. And I like Jason Tatum and Brown a lot, but I don't think they're ready to step up just yet. I think that they're good options on a championship team, but they're not the reason why a team's going to win a championship, at least not at this point. So I think you have a good team. In fact, I know, Brad Stevens is going to have the team ready to play in the playoffs. I don't think they're going to get swept. I don't think they're going to get embarrassed. I think that they're going to give it everything they've got, no matter who's on the court. And that's what I admire about this team. That's why, honestly, the last few years I've enjoyed watching the Celtics much more than the Red Sox. I look at the Red Sox the past couple of years of the playoffs, and they have a really good team, no injuries or anything, but then they just look embarrassing in the playoffs. Like, they don't just lose, they get annihilated. So it's really a shame, to be a Red Sox fan and watch that. But then you watch the Celtics, who, by most accounts, they shouldn't even go as far as they do. And last year, just grinding it out against the Wizards to make it to that Eastern Conference Final. And, this year, just having a wonderful season without Gordon Hayward and, not making excuses, just going forward, doing what can be done with what they have and just playing competitive games night in and night out. There have been a few clunkers, but they've generally always been in these games and always made it interesting and fun to watch as a fan. So I thank them for that. No matter what happens in the playoffs, and I don't think much will, I know the Celtics are going to give it their best effort. I can always count on them for that. And I think that they will, at the very least, go to 6 games in the first round. I think they could even win that first round series. But after that, I think all bets are off. I think, losing Kyrie is just a bit too much, especially with who they've already lost. You could have lost either Kyrie or Gordon Hayward. You can't lose both of them and expect to be really good in the Eastern Conference, even with some of the competition they're playing. So we'll see what happens, obviously. But I think the Celtics are done. That's just me. I'm sure, there's not a lot of Celtics fans that are banking on them going to the finals now, if they ever were. So we will see you later. I'll talk about the Celtics after the playoffs, no matter what happens. So we'll see you in a future video.